Welcome! This is Dale Hughes from VelocityWriting.com, where you learn to write with speed, passion, purpose, and profitability. Now, you probably know I work with aspiring writers on a professional basis. I've been doing mentoring, developmental editing, and copy editing for decades. I love to work with writers who want to learn and grow as they create their manuscripts. But there is a dark side. I see that a large number of aspiring writers seem to be into self-sabotage. They could succeed if they would allow themselves the freedom to do it. But many decide to blow themselves up. I have seen many different kinds of self-sabotage among writers over the years. Here are the 5 major ones and a cure for each one. That's coming up right now. I'd like to invite you to subscribe. Also, click on the bell icon so you don't miss my latest videos. Join in. Please like this video, make a comment, and feel free to share it on social media. There's more on this topic, including sources, at VelocityWriting.com. The link to the post is in the YouTube description. Dreaming, not doing. The fact is, writing does involve some dreaming. We conjure up an image in our mind, and then we put it into words, and then we put those words on the page. But too often we sit alone conjuring up the image and never get around to actually putting those thoughts on the page. We confuse ourselves by overthinking. Writing should be a spontaneous activity. Idea to page, bam! But we dream too long and the ideas get lost in a haze and they never hit the page. There is a related aspect to this form of self-sabotage. That is, we think we have a good idea for about a week and envision the big picture in our minds. But once we get to writing, we discover that we really do not have much to say. We did not dream up the details, so we stall. We get lost in dreaming again without really accomplishing anything. What's the cure for this kind of self-sabotage? Well, writers must outline their work. We need to plan the major plot points, understand our characters in minute detail, and then walk them through the plot. The idea of being a pantser, writing without a plan, is a romantic notion. Very few people are able to pull it off. If we want to start dreaming and start doing, then we need to follow a plan. No, we need not slavishly follow the roadmap. There is plenty of room for spontaneity, but our map needs to be as detailed as needed to get us where we want to go. Anything less is self-sabotage. Setting unrealistic goals. The flip side of dreaming away your writing life is setting unrealistic goals for yourself. Some writers have a clear picture of what they want to write, and that's good. However, many get the wild idea that they are going to finish their manuscript in a week or month. When they discover they are unable to do that, they become discouraged. They come up with excuses like writer's block, or they just give up. Not setting goals is self-sabotage. What's the cure? Well, the cure for this is to determine how many words you can write per day based on your schedule, then adjust your priorities to meet that goal. They say content is king, and that's true, but consistency is queen. Zoning out. The classic way for writers to zone out is alcohol or drugs. Some people love the idea of Ernest Hemingway, the 20th century writer. He supposedly said that people should write drunk and edit sober. Or was it the other way around? Well, it doesn't make any difference because he never said that either way. Hemingway may have been a heavy drinker, but the historical record is very clear that he held the art of writing in high esteem and never mixed drinking with any aspect of the writing process. Yes, there are many writers who mixed alcohol and drugs with writing. Personally, I think it's false to suggest that zoning out in this way made them better writers. They were involved in self-sabotage. We can only wonder how much greater they could have been without their addictions. Writers zone out in different ways today. They seek hits of brain dopamine by constantly consulting their phones and sites like Facebook. Many authors get in the habit of making multiple trips to the fridge for the emotional comfort that food offers. What's the cure? Well, we all have self-sabotaging behaviors. The cure is to identify these behaviors and refuse to be seduced by them. It's an act of the will. We need to get pleasure from writing so that we don't need to rely on outside things to calm our minds. Our minds are designed to focus. Lack of focus is self-sabotage. Failure to revise drafts. You know what I'm seeing more of these days? Well, it's aspiring writers who have developed a rather treacherous habit, and it's a deadly form of self-sabotage. They write a sentence, paragraph, or page, and then immediately edit it. I think it's the result of that horrible disease called perfectionism. All perfectionists are deep into self-sabotage. The very best thing we can do is write our entire draft before going back and revising it. You have the entire piece of fabric to work with and have the power and perspective to reshape it in desirable ways. Some people want to revise on a chapter level. Well, I get that. But overthinking every sentence, paragraph, and page? No. That's self-sabotage. What's the cure? Well, you want a full first draft, as awkward and imprecise and imperfect as it may seem to you. Then you start the revision process. You may complete many drafts to shape the story to your liking. Ultimately, you do what you think is your final and best draft, and that's the one that you have polished. After that, you send that revision to a competent developmental or copy editor. Revision is one process, and editing is a completely different process. Making excuses. In my many years working with aspiring writers, I think I have heard every excuse out there for not writing. One of my all-time favorites is that a writer did not reach their self-identified goal because they were waiting for the muse. That's a writer's excuse that goes back to antiquity. News, folks! The idea of a muse is a Greek myth. No one is going to whisper your story in your ear. You must take responsibility for your own ideas and actions. Anything less is self-sabotage. Of course, writer's block is another famous excuse used by authors, even some well-known ones. Rather than say the truth, they are lost and confused. They use a fancy term like writer's block to get sympathy. What's the cure? Well, let me give you the cure for waiting for the muse and writer's block and all other excuses. Plan your work and work your plan. When you have a plan, you don't need to wait for anyone. You are always able to write without excuse. Self-sabotage is ultimately a blame game. You blame people or circumstances rather than being accountable for your own behavior. I say, hey, suck it up and be brave if you want to amount to anything as a writer. You want to be a writer? It's not as easy as it seems. It takes commitment and persistence. There are many obstacles to overcome, The greatest ones are defeating your own doubt, fear, and bad habits. Yet you can identify the self-sabotage traits you may have, and you can overcome them. Have a great writing day.